Our life is actually a series of conflicts because actually wherever we are, wherever we go, the people we meet, whether it's one person or more, many times we find ourselves in a state of conflict. If we look at what a conflict is, it's a collision between two different values, beliefs, perceptions, desires. There are many reasons to why we have conflicts with other people. A very interesting definition of what a conflict is, it comes from the word con, which is together, and flict from the word collision. So there's an interesting action of mutual collision here. Both sides collide with one another. Yeah? And we'd like to understand the essence of what is a conflict, how is it created, why does it happen, what is its role, how would you define a conflict? I define a conflict as a necessary phenomenon, most natural phenomenon, that exists in any kind of contact between any two parts of creation, whether it's people, atoms, bodies, waves, you name it. Whatever degree of nature we talk about, still vegetative, animate, or people, or if we're talking about qualities or thoughts, if there are two, that you can discern the two, where one is not like the other, that there are two of them, then already there's a conflict between them. What are the two parts of creation, by the way? You said there's a conflict between the two parts of creation. Because that's to begin with. If there are two and not one, there's a difference between them, and so there's a collision. And what are these two? Desires. Desires. The whole of creation is a desire. The desire of the one is not similar to the desire of the other, and therefore there are two of them. That's it. And so a conflict is the most natural existing state in nature. The problem is that we don't identify the conflicts. The small conflicts that simply disappear altogether from our point of view, from our perception, from our scrutiny. But actually, the entire world are collisions over collisions of the still, vegetative, animate, speaking in different forms. But first of all, collisions. And all in all, the more we develop from the Big Bang through the universe and down to Earth and everything there is here, there is all the time the birth of desires which are divided and the ever-growing conflicts between them. This is actually what development is. And therefore our ego and creation altogether, the will to receive, to enjoy, to control, is growing all the time, ever more, from generation to generation. And in every person it grows all the time. So, the way I see it, a conflict is the most natural state, that it can't be any other way in the world. Everything else besides a conflict, aside from the collision, that is already a form called correction, a form which we have to build, which we have to arrange. We have to invest efforts into it, much thought, special order, special conditions, for there to be some kind of a connection between the two parts of creation. And it doesn't matter, it could be two people, it could be physical forces, subatomic forces, something in space, but we always have a collision. That's it. So, from what I understand, collision is something that exists on all levels of nature. to begin with. To begin with, that's how life's created. There's a difference between us and the upper force which has created us, and we're constantly distancing from him. We're becoming more and more egoistic, which makes us more distant. We become more radicalized, opposite to him. We go into an ever greater concealment. Concealment of what? Of the upper force. We conceal it by being opposite to it, to him. And what happens is that eventually we become so opposite that we can no longer stand our ego, which makes us so antagonistic in all shapes and manners, that our life is no longer sustainable. Because as opposed to our oppositeness, life is built based on connection between its elements, between its parts, and there's a kind of emerging connection, mutual goal between two counterparts. If we have to give birth to a new form of life, then we have to find something common between things that have nothing in common. So through mutual concessions, through special conditions, by special conditions, by increasing the favorable result, the two counter opposite parts come into contact, are willing to make concessions towards each other, and then the connection between them creates some mutual realm, area, where a third thing comes out that doesn't belong to the one or to the other. Suppose like a baby that's born to a man and a woman. And this is how we can continue life. And everywhere. Either it's, as it says, go and provide for each other. I don't want to provide for anyone. I want to take everything from them, but they won't give it to me. They'll beat me up, and that'll be that. So I have to invent something which is worthwhile to the other, and it's worthwhile for him to make something that's good for me. And then we have trade. You give me this, I give you that. Meaning we don't come from collision where each wants to take from the other to a point where we have no other choice and we merge, connect by as if providing for each other, meaning you give me and I'll give you. So if I get what you're saying, this trade, you give me, I give you, it's a substitute for a conflict, of course. A conflict teaches us what do we have to do in order to rise above something and start exchanging with each other. And that's how it is in the family and in our relations with our kids and our spouse, and in a nation and between countries, on all levels. On all levels, on all degrees, conflict comes first, and the preferable result is above that conflict to come to connection. And this is how we set life. We determine life, the intensity, the level, the style, the kind of life. Previously, you said that a conflict exists in everything in nature, from the very start. So what's the difference between the conflict that exists in the animate or vegetative world and the conflict that exists between human beings? The conflicts on the still vegetative and animate levels are instinctive conflicts. Instinctive, it means that they're natural, they exist in accordance with the nature of creation, and every time are under the control of the network of forces where all in all those creatures at the still vegetative and animate levels, they simply express the orders of nature which speak out of them. And therefore, the conflicts there are natural ones. And also the connection, and the separation, and the distancing, and the different kinds of struggles. It is all according to very clear, evident laws that exist in each and every species and between the species and so on. Whereas the conflicts which occur between human beings, these are conflicts that come not only in order to sustain humanity, like in the still vegetative inanimate, but also to develop the species. And therefore these conflicts, there is a free choice to them.